So you're rather concerned about the current seller's market for buying a new home. You want to get into a house, but you're not really sure if this is the right time to do so. Welcome to Real Estate by the Numbers. This is where we'll discuss a variety of topics all related to real estate, but looking at it from a numbers perspective. We'll talk about different types of things. We'll talk about evaluating when is a good time to buy a home. We'll talk about loan to value ratios, debt to income ratios, and a host of other ways to look at real estate from the standpoint of numbers and use numbers to make good decisions in our real estate buying, selling, and investment needs. All right, so let's roll up our sleeves and get to work on understanding, explaining why buying right now still is the right thing for you to do. In today's edition of Real Estate by the Numbers, we're taking a look at how your buying power is affected by changes in interest rate and home values. So what we're going to do is kind of look at this to start off with, talk about really how a lender determines your pre-approval amount. They kind of work backwards from what they tell you. So they really post the pre-approval amount, and we're going to give this example of they're going to write that pre-approval letter as $400,000. Well, what they've actually done is to take your gross monthly income and multiply that by the maximum allowable debt to income ratio. And that gives them their maximum allowed payment. Now, this payment would actually incorporate taxes and insurance and mortgage insurance premium if that's required. But for the purposes of the demonstration today, the example today, we're just going to calculate using payment and interest only. So when we do this, in this case, we plugged in an interest rate of 3.45%, closely to where we are today. And then we assumed a 3.5% down payment. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep the down payment amount the same, and we're going to keep the payment, the monthly payment, the same. Because really, when you get locked into that mortgage, your payment is what matters, because that's what you're going to be paying out every month for as long as you have that mortgage, at least. So next, we're going to look at what changes we're going to make. So we're going to keep the down payment the same. We're going to change the interest rate and look at what that does to our buying power. Same payment, same down payment. We change the interest rate from 3.45 to 4 1/8. And in this spreadsheet, we can make that change, anytime we want to look at different interest rate effects. And basically what this does is this could happen overnight, literally. And your buying power would be reduced from $400,000 to $369,000 and change, just based on nothing more than the interest rate changes. So you're looking at a little bit lesser homes as a result of that. Now, what we're going to do is look at this from the perspective of what happens as home values increase. So let's say you believe that the interest rates are going to stay the same for the next 12 months and home values will continue to go up. What does that do to your buying value? Okay. When we look at that, what we see is, just staying in the blue section here for now, this is, kept the payment the same, kept the down payment the same, and our interest rate is even what our initial interest rate was, 3.45. So those are equal. And on line 9 here, we increased the home value by 7%. That's actually kind of conservative compared to what a lot of the Forecasters are saying, we're hearing a lot of 11, 12, 15%. And indeed, last year we were, over 20%. But for these purposes, we're just going to say 7% for now. You can look at this two ways. And what typically people will do is say, well, what does that do to the price of the home? So that brought this $400,000 home to $428,000 home. So now, if we wanted to buy that same house, we would have to pay more for it. But remember, what we're trying to do is say, what could we be able to buy if we held the monthly payment the same? In order to hold that monthly payment at $1,722, we're now buying a home that was previously worth $372,000. So we're losing buying power in two different ways here. Now, the really eye-opening part is the reality of where the market currently is. It's very likely that both of these situations occur at the same time. So if we make that assumption that the rate and the value are both going to increase, the mortgage rate and the value of the home, and we still want to be locked into that $1,722 payment for the life of our mortgage, we're still going to put $14,000 down. So we make those minor changes to the interest rate and the home value increase. And instead of buying a $400,000 home, we would have the buying power value of a $345-ish thousand home. So if you're looking at waiting a year, you might as well look at what is now currently today a $344,000 home instead of a $400,000 home. So that's, quite a bit of difference of how much buying power you have. Now, there's another aspect to this. When we start looking at buying a home, one of the big reasons we buy a home is to build wealth through equity development. And if we buy a $400,000 home, we can kind of guess at what the growth rate's going to be over time. And we can go in here and play with these numbers and whatnot. But what I did was build out 10 years of growth rates. Here, just kind of variables anywhere from 3 to 9%. Oh, I guess 4%. I took the 3 out. And said, how much does our home increase in value over that time period? So if we bought a $400,000 home and we keep these growth rates that are in there now, then that would equate to about a $700,000 home 10 years from now. So the value has increased by $300,000. Now, if we lost our buying power, and this is only assuming changes to the interest rate, if we lose that buying power because we didn't lock in our interest rate and they went up from 3.45 to 4 1/8 as in this example. So now instead of having 10 years from now a home that's $702,000, we're going to have a home that's just over $600,000. Now, we did buy that at a little bit lower price point, to be fair. The difference in home value estimates or lost equity, without assuming the difference in mortgage payouts at that time, but really just looking at the difference in value increases, you're talking $65,000. So this is really why, despite this crazy market, why this is a good time to buy, because you end up, if you wait and let interest rates and home values continue to go up, you're going to end up with a lesser home and less equity because you bought after rates and prices went up. So this is Trigg, and that's why even in this seller's market now is a good time to buy. Time is of the essence. Contact me to get started. This is Trigg. I'm out. How do I turn this off?